Hi, we're going to talk a little bit about group work and specifically about one study about group work and how you can use it for your writing this semester. First off, I want you to think about what makes group work work. So cast your mind back on effective groups that you've been in. So this could be school group work, but also sports teams, clubs, church groups, even particularly effective circles of friends. Any group smaller than around 15 and had a goal. So what were the characteristics of those groups? How did you work together? Were you similar to each other or different? And what rules or guidelines did you have? And these could be rules that were literally written out, but also unspoken rules about how you treated each other. Okay, so everybody has an idea about what works for different groups. And some people will say, oh, you have to be the same type of person or you don't. But one thing that you may have experienced is you've been on a good group and on a bad group before. So why were some groups effective and some groups not? Well, Google tried to figure this out. They called it Project Aristotle. So they decided to do a little experiment. They analyzed 180 teams across the company, and these were all kinds of teams. So some of them were in engineering, some of them were in marketing, all kinds of things. And they looked at those that were rated highly effective and those that were really awful. And so they looked at all of these details. Is it democratic? Did they have similar backgrounds? Did they hang out outside of work? And so they sort of tried to figure out, and this is what they found. Who the people were mattered 0%. At Google, we're good at finding patterns. Dudley said there weren't strong patterns here. So this tells us something really important. It means that everyone can be in a good group and everyone can be in a bad group. You've probably had this happen. You've been in a good group that was effective and you've been in a bad group. So what is it that made the difference if it wasn't about who the people are? First, equity of speaking. So getting everybody involved makes a group more effective. Now this doesn't have to mean that everybody speaks the exact amount of time. In some groups, everybody spoke on each project, and in other groups, people sort of had like their thing that they would focus on. But as long as everyone got a chance to talk, the team did well. So this is from the same article about Project Aristotle. But if only one person or a small group spoke all the time, the collective intelligence declined. You need each other. Even that one group mate that may feel like they're hanging back or not contributing, you need their support. They probably have ideas or even criticisms that can strengthen the whole rest of the group. So, number one, make sure everybody participates. Number two, having social sensitivity, which is empathy. So, being able to figure out other people's expressions, being safe to share feelings and stories, and having comfort taking risks. This can be particularly hard with an online class because you can't really look somebody in the eye and see if they're close to tears or they're angry. Communicating via email, I understand that can be very difficult. So you have to be especially careful on number two. I think this one is even more important in an online situation. Also, in a class, comfort taking risks is really hard because, your grade's at risk. Fortunately, in this class, the online assignments that you have aren't very high stakes. So if you crash and burn, it's not like you're going to be out a ton of points. It's going to make it a little bit easier. So do try to, feel like you can take a risk on somebody and try something out that maybe you wouldn't have done otherwise. So, easier said than done. How are you going to do that? So first, be willing to take risks and make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Even the people who were working on the project made mistakes on the project. So admit if you've made a mistake, apologize, and move forward. It doesn't have to keep you bogged down. Next bit of advice, let other people make mistakes too. So there was one part where somebody said something a little insensitive, right? So they got an email back that said, ouch. It was like a punch in the gut. I was already upset, and this note played on my insecurities. So when somebody does something really tactless, you don't need to let it bother you. You can respond and in a polite way and move forward. So this is what she ended up doing. She spoke up quickly and kindly. Nothing like a good ouch to restore psychological safety. Just testing your resilience, right? So they just, they're able to make could have been a really hurtful experience, a little bit diffused, a little bit better. This really goes along with that idea of be comfortable letting other people make mistakes, and just moving forward, not letting it hold the group back. So what I'd like you to do in the quiz is I want you to determine what's going to work for your group. So maybe come up for maybe some standards, some rules, some expectations about how you communicate with each other or how you divide tasks into different parts. And kind of part of your homework for this quiz is to contact the other members of your group and make sure that you have a good plan to be effective. As I said, I do believe this is something that you can do effectively.